Picture this: a peaceful American town where life moves at an easy pace. Friendly neighbors, quiet streets, familiar faces you trust. Now imagine that beneath the calm surface, a storm is brewing. A storm fueled not by hatred or rage, but something far more insidious and shockingly human: envy. What if the darkness hiding in the heart of this town came not from a stranger or a criminal mastermind, but from someone you think you know, someone who smiled at you every morning? The murders that followed would shake Cedar Grove, Ohio, to its core. They would expose the fragility of the masks we all wear and the terrifying things envy can drive a man to do. Stay with me, because this story will turn everything you think you know about evil on its head. But before we get too deep, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You're about to hear a tale you won't soon forget. Cedar Grove was the kind of town where time seemed to slow. Autumn painted the trees in fiery reds and golds, and the scent of wood smoke drifted lazily through the air. On mornings like this, neighbors waved across white picket fences, and kids played tag until the sun dipped below the horizon. David Miller was woven into this tapestry. At 34, he was the kind of guy who'd hold the door open for you and offer a friendly smile, even if you barely knew him. His hands were rough from years working at the local auto repair shop, but his laugh was easy and his charm disarming. Emily, his girlfriend, was a bright light in David's world. A kindergarten teacher who loved children and Sunday brunches at Millie's Diner. They were, on the surface, a happy couple. The kind of people you'd nod at in passing and say, life looks good on them. But sometimes the quietest waters run the deepest. It started as a subtle shift. David grew restless, more withdrawn. His usual banter at the diner faded into silence. He stopped coming to the weekly poker nights. Emily noticed the change, the way his eyes lingered on his phone screen, scrolling endlessly through photos of Mark Reynolds. Mark was David's childhood friend, but lately he was a symbol of everything David wasn't. Mark was successful, promoted to regional manager just last year, engaged to a woman from a wealthy family, with a sprawling house and a brand new car. His Instagram feed was a glossy highlight reel of privilege. David's envy was palpable, not the passing kind, but a dark, gnawing obsession crept into his every thought. One evening, Emily found David in the garage, talking to himself, voice low and sharp. They don't see it. They never did. But I'll show them. I'll show Mark. Emily tried to reach him, but he pushed her away, the smile that once warmed her heart now chillingly hollow. The night Mark was found was the night Cedar Grove's innocence died. A jogger, out for a late run, discovered Mark's mutilated body in the woods near the river, a place children once played but now whispered about with fear. The police were baffled. There was no motive, no witnesses, no signs of struggle beyond the grotesque violence. A symbol was carved into Mark's chest, a crude spiral, almost childlike, yet terrifyingly deliberate. News spread like wildfire. The town that once knew everyone's secrets now feared its shadows. David was questioned. He said he was home, working late. No one had an alibi for him, but there was no proof. Emily clung to hope, but doubt gnawed at her. Weeks later, Sarah Collins was found dead, a waitress at the local cafe, beloved by many, and seemingly unrelated to Mark. But the symbol? The same spiral etched into her skin. The town was gripped by panic. 2 murders, 2 innocent lives lost, and no answers. David's behavior became more erratic. Emily heard arguments in the middle of the night, whispers of "they don't deserve this," and "it's only the beginning." Her fear grew. Here's where I want you to pause. What do you think connects these murders? Is this the work of a jealous stalker? A deranged lunatic? Or is there something even more sinister? Comment your theories below. While you're at it, hit that like button if you want me to keep unraveling this dark mystery. The turning point came when investigators found David's journal hidden behind a loose panel in his garage. Pages filled with obsessive musings about Mark's life, scribbled in frantic handwriting. Words dripping with envy and rage. "I'm tired of watching him live the life I deserve," one entry read. "He stole everything from me and soon he'll pay." There were drawings of the spiral symbol, next to maps marking the locations of both murders. Emily, devastated, confronted David. His facade cracked. In a moment of rare vulnerability, he whispered, "I never wanted it to go this far. It was supposed to be just a warning." David was arrested, but during interrogation, he stunned the police with a revelation that chilled them to their core. He claimed he wasn't acting alone, that someone else, someone powerful and hidden in plain sight, was pulling the strings, manipulating him. This accomplice wanted to tear down Cedar Grove's perfect image, exposing lies and secrets buried beneath the community's polished veneer. The spiral? A twisted signature meant to mock the town's unity. Meanwhile, Emily, fearing for her life, had begun secretly recording David's late-night rants. One night, the tape caught a chilling monologue. "They all think I'm alone, but the truth is darker. He's watching, waiting. We'll bring them all down." Who was he talking about? The police knew this was the break they needed. The town would never be the same. Trust shattered. Families torn apart. The quiet streets now haunted by whispered fears. A simple human emotion, envy, had unleashed a nightmare. David's spiral into darkness was a tragic reminder. Sometimes, the worst monsters were familiar faces. But the story isn't over. The accomplice remains at large. The true mastermind hiding in the shadows. We'll dive deeper into the secrets lurking beneath Cedar Grove, uncover the identity of this sinister partner, and reveal the full scope of their horrifying plan. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss it. And if you're hungry for more spine-tingling true crime, binge our playlist right here. Insert link. Remember, sometimes the people you think you know best are the ones you should fear the most. Last time, we met David Miller, the man whose envy spiraled into murder, shaking Cedar Grove to its core. But the story only deepens from there, because David wasn't acting alone. Behind every twisted mind lies a darker shadow, and in Cedar Grove, that shadow had a name. A puppeteer whose hands pulled the strings of destruction, whose motives were as chilling as the crimes themselves. Today, we step behind the curtain. But first, if you haven't already, subscribe now and ring the bell. You won't want to miss how this nightmare unfolds. As investigators sifted through evidence, a pattern emerged. The spiral symbol wasn't just David's signature. It belonged to a secret society within Cedar Grove, a cabal of influential town leaders who thrived on controlling the narrative and silencing anyone who threatened their perfect image. Among them was Henry Calloway, the charismatic mayor whose warm public smile hid a ruthless streak. The police uncovered encrypted messages between Henry and David, messages filled with coded instructions, veiled threats, and promises of protection. Henry was no innocent bystander. He was the architect. Henry Calloway was a man who had built his empire on secrets and manipulation. Years ago, David had stumbled onto a secret that could ruin Henry, a bribery scandal tied to zoning laws and construction contracts. Instead of gratitude, David was recruited, coerced into obedience. The murders, a brutal message, a way to silence dissenters and terrify those who dared pry too deep. David was the weapon. Henry was the mind. Emily found herself trapped between love and horror. She believed in David once, but the truth was a shattered mirror. With every secret uncovered, her heart broke further. And then came a terrifying threat. An anonymous note slipped under her door. "Stay silent or you'll be next." She faced a choice: protect the man she once loved or help the town she cared for. Just when Cedar Grove thought the nightmare was ending, a third body appeared. This time, it was Jacob Turner, a local journalist who had been investigating the town's elite. His death was brutal. Eyes gouged out, the spiral symbol carved deeper than ever before. The message was clear. The cabal's reach was far, and no one was safe. Now it's your turn. Who else might be involved? Is there more than one mastermind? Could this cabal be larger than anyone imagined? Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like if you want the truth unraveled even faster. Under pressure, David cracked. His confession was horrifying, not just for what he had done, but what he revealed. He spoke of rituals, of town meetings held in secret basements, of blood oaths binding the elite. He begged for mercy, for release from the nightmare. But even as he spoke, his eyes held a coldness, like the true darkness was yet to come. Despite the damning evidence, arrests were slow. The cabal wielded immense influence, lawyers, judges, and businessmen alike. Leaks in the police department, media blackouts, and sudden accidents slowed progress. Cedar Grove's perfect image was fighting back. Emily, desperate, found a hidden message in David's old journal, a cryptic poem pointing to the next victim. She rushed to warn the authorities, but before she could act, the power went out. In the darkness, a shadow moved silently through the town, and so Cedar Grove waits with bated breath. Who will be next? Will Emily survive long enough to stop the carnage? And is Henry truly the mastermind, or just a piece in a far more sinister puzzle? In Part 3, we'll uncover the town's darkest secrets, unmask hidden allies, and confront the horrifying truth behind the cabal's grip on Cedar Grove. Subscribe now, hit the bell, because the next chapter will shock you. And if you're ready to dive deeper, binge our full playlist of true crime stories that will keep you glued to your seat. Remember, in small towns, the darkest secrets hide in plain sight. Cedar Grove had lived under a shadow for months, fearful whispers, shattered trust, and a growing dread that the next victim was just around the corner. But the nightmare was about to end. Tonight, we close the chapter on envy's deadly grip and expose the full truth behind the town's darkest days. Before we begin, if you've been following this saga from the start, hit subscribe and ring that bell one last time. And if this story has gripped you, consider sharing it, because some truths deserve to be heard. After Emily's chilling warning and the sudden blackout, Cedar Grove's police knew time was running out. Undercover officers infiltrated the cabal's secret meetings, hidden in a forgotten basement beneath the town hall. What they uncovered was a chilling scene. Powerful men and women bound by twisted oaths, orchestrating fear and violence to protect their interests. But the operation went deeper. Hidden cameras caught Henry Calloway and several others conspiring to silence Emily, David, and anyone who dared oppose them. At dawn, the town was rocked by the sound of sirens. Henry Calloway was arrested at his mansion, his calm facade finally cracking under the weight of evidence. Alongside him, 5 other prominent figures, business leaders, lawyers, and a local judge, were taken into custody. David Miller, too, faced the full force of the law, his confessions painting him as both pawn and perpetrator. The courtroom was packed. Victims' families, townspeople, and media swarmed the small town, desperate for justice. The prosecution laid bare the twisted web of envy, corruption, and murder. David's journal, Emily's recordings, and the undercover footage became irrefutable evidence. But the defense fought hard, painting David as a broken man, manipulated by the cabal, a victim as much as anyone. Emily took the stand. Her voice trembled as she recounted the man she loved, the descent into darkness, the threats, the pain. Families of the victims spoke with raw emotion, grief, anger, and a longing for closure. The town's veneer cracked as truths spilled into the light. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated. Guilty on all counts, Henry Calloway and his conspirators were sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. David Miller was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. His cooperation in exposing the cabal weighed heavily. Cedar Grove began to heal. Slowly, Emily moved away, seeking peace. The community vowed transparency and vigilance, determined never to let envy or corruption take root again. This tragic saga reminds us, envy is a poison, and unchecked power can corrupt even the quietest corners. But justice, though delayed, is possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you want more stories that peel back the layers of darkness hiding in plain sight, check out our true crime playlist. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters live not in the shadows, but in the hearts of those closest to us.